Better late than never. This is my 2-week check-in for The Artist's Way. So this week was really intense. I'm not gonna lie. I had kind of a major breakthrough when I was doing one of my morning pages this week. And what came forward was essentially like this deep trusting of myself from an artist perspective. When I reflect on the past and like art that I've created in the past and like art shows that I've done and stuff like that, I've always had this deep-rooted kind of attachment to my art. And I think that the realization this week was that there is an infinite amount of creativity within me. There's an infinite amount of art that I can make. And so there's no need for the attachment to that art. I've always found it extremely difficult to give art away just because of that attachment to it, right? Like you've poured yourself into it, you've poured resources, you've poured time into creating that thing. And so I always found it very, very hard to let go of it. And I think back to, I have a friend who's a full-time artist, and one story that immediately popped into my head was like, one time he posted, he does like wood burning and stuff like that. So like one time on Instagram, he posted a bunch of art pieces that he had done of cacti. And I really liked 2 of the pieces. And I was like, oh, I really want to buy these. And so I reached out to him and I was like, hey, I want to buy these pieces from you. But by the time I had reached out to him, they had already sold. But he was like, oh no, don't worry. Like, I'll just make you more. Like, I'll make you another one. And like in my mind, like I just couldn't comprehend that. Like I was just like, what do you mean you'll make me another one? Like I want the ones that I saw on Instagram. And sure enough, when he showed up to deliver these art pieces to me, they looked the same as the ones that I had seen on Instagram. And so I was just like, I like could not wrap my brain around how he did that. But it's this idea around like, you are an infinite well of creativity, and anything that you make is just a stepping stone to another great thing that you can make. And there's no limit to the awesome things that you can make. There's always opportunity for you as an artist to make more because it's just infinite. You are creative, and it's like the knowing and trusting that if you make like the best thing that you've ever made in your life, that's not going to be the last best thing. Like you can only get to the best thing by creating. So you have to create in order to get to the next thing, in order to make your next best work. Another kind of story that was coming into mind was, I've been to Burning Man a couple of times. If you're not familiar, it is an experience where a lot of people go out to the desert. A lot of people bring art installations out there. And at the end of the week, a lot of the art installations burn, like they burn to the ground. And so it's always been really tough for me as an artist to kind of wrap my brain around that. Just because, again, with the attachment, like you just think about these large sculptures, right? Like these huge things that people pour so much money, so much time, so much effort. And then, you know, they're taken out there for a week and they're enjoyed by people, but then it's just all destroyed, like in a second. It just felt like, people have asked me before, like, would you ever make something and bring it out to Burning Man? And I always had hesitation of that because I don't know if I could handle it as an artist to watch something that I poured so much of myself into burn. But after I had this realization this week, I was just like, oh, those people understand that they can just always make more. There's always opportunity as long as they're breathing that they can make more. That's just like, it was such a turning point moment for me when I had like this realization of just like, self-trust in your art is everything. So I did want to share that just because I think that it can be a valuable lesson for a lot of creatives and artists. But yeah, I am very grateful for the morning pages. I did them every day this week. I also did my artist date. I basically, on one day of the weekend, last weekend, went to a craft day with some of my girlfriends and just happened to throw some watercolors into my bag like the very last minute. I did not think that I would use them, but when I got there, I did wind up using them, and I pulled them out as kind of like my second project of the day. And I just like felt really pulled into it. And so the next day I had like time set aside for my artist date. And I was like, oh, like maybe I'll bring out my watercolors again. And so I took my watercolors up to my rooftop and set up a little setup up there and just let myself paint for, I don't know, like an hour and a half or so. I'll show you what I created here, but I'm kind of obsessed with how it came out. I like, you know, I just let myself play without rules, and yeah, it was really fun. I think I'm going to continue playing with watercolors. It's like not a medium that I've played with in a very, very long time. And I'm already starting to kind of feel my brain kind of shift towards like craving creation, like craving art. And like, even when I'm like sitting around or like there are spare moments, my brain, there's something in my brain like going like, you know, you could go back to the office, grab some art supplies, or like start, you know, doing something. So I'm curious to see if that is going to continue to build in my head. And yeah, I'm about halfway through week 3 now. But yeah, I'll check in next week.